Welcome back to the Mib Speaks podcast, the podcast for mums and women in business who are done waiting to feel like it. And they're ready to build something sustainable, not something that depends upon your mood, your energy, or a perfect morning, but something that works in real life. I'm Leona, and today I'm going to say something that might sound a little bit and feel a little bit uncomfortable at first. Motivation is a lie. Not because motivation isn't real, because it's unreliable. And if your business depends upon motivation, it will stall the moment life gets busy, loud or hard. Motivation is a spark, but sparks burn out quickly. Have you ever told yourself, I'll do it when I feel motivated. I'll get to it when I get back in the zone. I'm waiting for the spark to come back. Then this episode is for you. Because here's the truth that most people don't want to hear. Highly successful people are not more motivated than you. They're more disciplined. They're more committed. They don't wait to feel inspired. They build systems that work even when they don't feel like showing up. Motivation feels good, but discipline builds results. Habits build income. Consistency builds confidence. And none of those require for you to feel motivated. If motivation were the key, every January life would change. But we know how that works. Right? Motivation fades the moment you're tired, your kids are sick, somebody doesn't get back to you, you don't get the response you hoped for on one of your posts, you try something new and it doesn't work first time. Most people stop. Not because they can't do it, but because they tried an action and they tied an action to an emotion. If I had to tell you one thing that changed everything for me, it's this. I stopped asking myself, do I feel motivated? I started asking myself, what does the committed version of me do today? Because commitment doesn't care about mood. Commitment shows up tired. Commitment shows up messy. Commitment shows up anyway, regardless. Now let's make this very real. Think about the last time you felt highly motivated. Maybe you planned everything, you wrote the list, you felt the energy, you felt amazing, then life happened. Motivation didn't disappear because you failed. It disappeared because motivation was never meant to carry the weight. So here's the reframe that I want you to adopt. Motivation starts things. Systems sustain them. And if your business relies upon motivation, it will always feel heavy. If your business relies upon habits, it becomes lighter over time. So let's talk about actions, not hypotheticals. Here's the first shift that I want you to make. Stop setting goals that require you to feel like it. Instead, set standards. Standards sound like I post 3 times a day regardless. I follow up on every lead within 48 hours. I spend 20 minutes a day working on my visibility. I do the boring basics even when I'm not in the mood. Standards remove negotiation. They remove emotion. They remove excuses. And that's freeing. So here's your first action. Write down 3 non-negotiables in your business, not goals, standards. Things you do whether you're motivated or not, whether your motivation is high or low. Now let's talk about energy because this matters. Lack of motivation is often a signal, not a problem. Sometimes it's telling you you're doing too much, you're overcomplicating things, you're chasing things that don't matter to you. You're working without direction. So here's your second action. Ask yourself, what can I simplify? What is the one thing that you could strip back that could make consistency easier? What's one task that you could make smaller instead of abandoning it altogether? Because consistency doesn't mean doing more. It means doing less, but doing it better repeatedly. Now let's talk about identity because this is the part most people skip. You don't act consistently because of motivation. You act consistently because of who you are, who you believe you are. When you identify somebody who shows up, you show up. If you identify somebody you follow through, you follow through. Do you keep promises to yourself? Do your actions change? So here's your third action. Finish the sentence. I'm the kind of business owner and I choose an identity that requires action and not emotion. Now I want you to address something honestly. Especially for mums and women in business. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be on all the time. That is impossible. You don't need to hustle all of the time. You don't need to burn out to be committed. Commitment can look calm. It can look quiet. It can look like showing up in your PJs. It just needs to be consistent and fit into your life. But it does require responsibility, and responsibility sounds like this. Even when I don't feel like it, I do the basics. Even when it's uncomfortable, I follow through. Even when nobody is clapping for me, I keep going, because results don't come from big bursts of motivation. They come from boring, repeatable actions done time and time again. So let me leave you with this. Stop waiting to feel motivated. Stop waiting for your success to be determined by your mood. Stop believing that everybody has something that you don't. They don't. They just decided that motivation doesn't get to be in charge. So here's your final question, and sit with this. If motivation disappeared tomorrow, what would you still commit to? Because that's where your real success lives. If this episode has hit home, share it with somebody that needs a reminder. And remember, you don't need motivation. You need to be committed. You need good habits. I will see you next time on Mib Speaks.